Hey everybody, I'm Danny Otto. Welcome into an all-new episode of That Recap Show. Now, before we get into the episode, just wanted to issue major spoiler alert. We are going to be going over everything that happened in episode 3 of the Agatha All Along series. So if you haven't watched that episode yet, you may want to pause this video, head over to Disneyplus, check that episode out, and then come back and enjoy the breakdown. Now, with that out of the way, let's start the show.
Poppin' Off presents That Recap Show.
All right, join with me to break down everything from episode 3 of the Agatha All Along series. It's Jon Rico.
Hello.
Hello.
We're back. More witches.
More witches. It's just, look, just like I was saying last episode, this is getting us into spooky season, and it's perfect because it's,
Oh, yeah.
we're just kicking right off, right immediately now. We're getting kind of creepy, like in the best way possible. I mean that in the best way possible. We had some creepy moments in this episode.
Oh, yeah.
And I am here for it. I hope we get even more of them. And yeah, there were parts of it I was going, like, I didn't text you, but I think we were both in the rundown when we were watching it last night. And I put in there, I was like, damn, this is getting creepy. And I'm pretty sure I saw you pop in, read that, and then pop out.
Oh, yeah. I saw you were typing and then I just immediately left. I was like, oh, he's watching.
Yeah. But it was more of like, I saw you were in there and I typed a message going, man, this is getting creepy. Because I was like, instead of just messaging you, I was like, oh, I'll read this.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
I love it. I want it. I want them to go even more into it. Like I would love this to see even more creepiness. But yeah, this is given off like spooky season vibes perfectly. We are days away from October now. This is perfect. That lined up perfectly for me. One scene I have to mention contains my favorite line, or one of my favorite lines from this particular episode. Mm-hmm. And it is, unfortunately, it's at the very end. We already gave the spoiler alert, but at the very, very end, we have Agatha say,
"Who's Sharon?"
And then it just cuts to the credits. I laughed for long enough that like I was into the credits before like I stopped chuckling at that, because it was the perfect like end / just like slam right into the credits, like nothing else needed, no breathe time, no nothing. But what made it funnier for me is, do you remember the scene in The Suicide Squad where it's towards the very end and they're it's towards the very like final battle and they're fighting, and this guy that was tagging along with the entire Suicide Squad ends up, unfortunately dying, and Polka Dot Man is like saying that he was a hero and he was going along with them, and he sacrificed everything for them, and all of a sudden Harley goes,
"Who's Milton?
What?
I don't remember any Milton."
Fuck! He has been with us the whole time.
There was someone with us in our group named Milton.
Just named Milton, yeah.
And so finally, this scene goes a little bit longer than the Agatha All Along scene, but it basically amounts to she sees the person and goes, "Oh, Milton,
Yeah.
Milton."
Yeah. Oh, Milton.
But it just reminded me of that scene. Like those two scenes just gave off the exact same vibes, and I laughed during that movie, and I laughed during that particular scene in this episode, and I had to bring it up. It immediately reminded me of that in the best way possible. It was a chuckle. It was what we needed in that moment to not end on a sad note from the episode. But yeah, I thought it was perfect. Rico, what were some of your instant reactions for episode 3?
Yeah, I thought this was a solid episode that kind of followed up what was set up perfectly in the first 2 episodes, right? Like, the first one, again, just kind of reintroducing us to the character, and then kind of giving us an idea of what the journey is going to be. And then, of course, the second episode, which is kind of getting us to the road, literally the road of where we're going to actually walk down that's going to really take a step to like the really meaty part of the series. And I think for like the first of like these trials that they kind of have to go through, this is a pretty solid one where they're kind of like just given this illusion of something nice, and then they have to go through just some like psychological torture. Like it's exactly what you would want from like a horror series like this, and
Yep.
you kind of see them dive into kind of like the world of kind of different horror movies here, kind of like the Nun and Rosemary's Baby type of stuff, and it's really cool how they kind of throw their own spin on it, of course, and then you have just great ensemble of actresses who are all like their own fun little characters, and it's just like it's a really fun time to watch, and there's some really fun like you said, some really creepy stuff in there too. I'm really liking like how how deep Marvel's going with like this kind of like horror rise. Like, we got the again the taste of it again in Werewolf by Night, how creepy they can go, but this is definitely some like kind of up there weird like Exorcist stuff as far as like creepy goes for me.
Yeah, and look, I mean, just to kind of go off exactly what you're saying, I think I'm hoping they're gonna push the boundaries like a little bit more as far as what they can do as far as horror movies and horror like series and stuff like that, because I mean we had some pretty creepy elements in this that I did not expect them to already do, but as the series progresses, we could see some even more creepier things. We could see, some more murder and you know what I mean? Like stuff you wouldn't have expected from, a Disneyplus Marvel series even a year ago type of thing. So,
and they balance it out too with like that good campy comedy stuff too,
Right.
especially with like the the Botox looking scene when they first drink the wines, and the fact that they're lured in with like all these girls are all lured in just by drinking wine. It's just like, of course they are, because that's what you do when you're all the girls and you get together. You gotta get a bottle of wine, and just sit there and shoot the shit. But I like they like immediately they do it, they swell up, and then like it just goes away immediately, and then like that begins like the witches kind of like kind of solving their own puzzle. So it's kind of cool watching their minds kind of work and be like, okay, let's do a little like kind of an alchemy puzzle here. And yeah, I enjoyed that a lot.
Yeah, me too. You want to get to some big takeaways?
Yeah, let's do it.
Awesome. All right, I'm gonna kick off big takeaways. I just look. I know this is out there. I'm already prefacing this with I know this is a crazy 2% chance, maybe 2% chance. We have some breadcrumbs. And what I'm talking about is we got a couple more breadcrumbs to the mystery of Teen's identity in this episode. We got breadcrumbs. Nothing substantial, just kind of things. They could all be red herrings. Looking back when we finish this series, we could be looking back and going, yeah, all those were red herrings. Just the same thing that we were doing with WandaVision, where we were saying Mephisto over and over again, type of thing. Like we could be getting red herrings left and right. But I've been thinking a lot. So the two leading theories of his identity are, Wiccan or Agatha's child, also Nicholas Scratch. So I just thought about this last night, like while I was watching the episode and stuff like that. What if it's not one or the other? What if it's the same child? Like, what if, Wiccan / Wanda's child is Agatha's child that she gave up to get the Darkhold in the first place? Because that's another major piece of information that we, got confirmed, is that she gave up her child to Mephisto for the Darkhold type of thing. So what I was thinking was, I mean, she gave up her child. No one knows what happened to Agatha's child, ever. And I'm not saying like it was a 1-for-1 match type of thing, because I think obviously, Agatha gave up her child long before the events of WandaVision happened. But like, I'm talking like, spirit of the child that she gave up is in, Wanda's child type of thing, or a piece of his spirit. So it's really two halves of one full person type of thing. Like, what if, the teen's identity really is amalgamation of Wanda's child and of Agatha's child type of thing? Like, what if it turns out that it is the same person. What do you think?
Interesting for sure. I definitely have my own ideas on that. I'm definitely going to get into in predictions for sure. But I like where you're going there.
Yeah, I mean, look, like I said, I know it's crazy. I know it's under 5% chance that it's correct. I wanted to go out on record and just put it out there. Like, what if it is? Just because of the certain, like, the key information that we've been getting. And you know, there's a sigil over his mouth, so like obviously someone else doesn't want, and like anyone in Wanda's coven in general to know his identity or any of like the real details of his life and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm really interested, and like I
I
said,
get this covered, right?
yeah.
Okay.
Wait, what did I say?
You said Wanda's covered.
Ah, damn it.
Okay.
Yeah, I knew I was gonna mix up the two names. But yeah, Agatha's coven. But yeah, I just it could all be red herrings. Like this whole episode could have been about that. Like you know what I mean? But from the information that we have right now, and I was kind of telling you this like when we were getting ready to start recording, from the information that we have right now, my theory to be way more substantial than it is right now is a couple more pieces of information that like if we ever find out that Wanda knew about Mephisto, period, like even though we didn't see Wanda or Mephisto in WandaVision, or we didn't see Wanda and Mephisto like interact in WandaVision at all, if we find out that Wanda had any connection with Mephisto, my theory goes up by 50% accurate. Like you know what I mean? Like I'm just saying, like it's close. It's close. We need a couple more pieces of information, and if they fall right, could potentially be right. But like I said, could have all been red herring information. That could be, you know, going off. But you know what? I'm willing to put it out there and be proven wrong. But Rico, what were some of your big takeaways from episode 3?
Yeah, it's definitely interesting to think about that aspect of it for sure. Because now we definitely know that there's some stuff that spans before the events of WandaVision that definitely could have played into what happened there. But yeah, man. But the first thing I really wanted to say that to kind of go off what we were talking about in the your recap earlier before was how are you gonna do my girl Mrs. Hart, aka Sharon, like that, and just like and, you know, just the last shot of her was just like her all blue and dead. I was like, oh come on, man, we're already done with her. Like she was one of my favorite characters. But I was wondering to myself once I saw her too, like when they were able to get the brew into her, did she get up on her own and go into the oven? I don't remember.
No, they still picked her up. Remember?
Okay,
throwing
so
her into the oven.
It didn't work essentially. So I'm guessing is what I'm guessing, because we never really got a confirmation that she like really woke up and recovered from that.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm wondering if we're gonna get a more clear answer on that next time. But yeah, that was kind of a bummer because I really loved Deborah Jo Rupp as a character, and I think that was just kind of a funny, that whole Sharon, like who's Sharon thing. To me, it was just kind of like a funny running joke, just because she never was able to remember her actual name.
Right.
Just the name that she knew her by in
Mrs.
like
Hart,
these alternate realities. Yeah, too. It's just kind of a cool meta joke of how like even the actress who played her herself is just kind of known for playing Kitty Foreman. So it's just kind of that running theme there. So I think that's just kind of funny itself. But man, another thing about this show that I'm really liking is just Patty LuPone's character, Lilia, I believe her name is, the fortune teller.
Yeah.
Just, you know, her whole flashback scene, kind of like what looked like her old teacher, and like what kind of goes back to like the Italian old Italian history and stuff like that, was really wild and creepy. But she does a really great job of just kind of bouncing that serious tone, but then also being really funny too. Like when they all get like that whole Botox face stuff, she's one of the couple. She's like I kind of like it. Like
yeah.
She's like, I'm down with this. But she another thing that I like about this show is how they do all these little subtle nods to, you know, other popular witches and stuff like that, and you know, either in pop culture or just history in general. You know, the main thing, of course, being like the credit sequence where we get to see like basically a montage of all these different witch series.
Yeah.
Bewitched is heavily featured. We get to see Lisa Simpson. Sorry, Lisa Simpson as a witch. And then some other like really cool, I'm guessing like Charmed and all those other things, I'm guessing is thrown in there. But Lilia, Patty LuPone's character, makes a really funny reference to me at the end of the episode when they open the oven And she goes like, I had a friend do this and it didn't go well for her, which is essentially making a reference to the Hansel and Gretel witch. And I was like, wow, it really like it kind of pulled that memory of just like watching like the stories of that as a kid. Of course, my grandma had like these tapes of like all these fairy tales that were done by like famous actors. I forget what the name of the series was, but it was really cool. Like there's an episode of like Three Little Pigs where like Billy Crystal is one of the three pigs. Like it's pretty freaking wild. Yeah, Fred Willard.
Damn.
It's insane. Yeah, I really wish I could remember the name of like the series, but I'm sure if someone is watching and they watch one of those, they know exactly what I'm talking about. But yeah, I remember watching the one on Hansel and Gretel too, and I was just like, man, this story was really interesting. Like lured them in with the big candy house, and then like they just lured her and trapped her in her own oven, stuff like that. But I really like how they brought that in there as a reference at the end. And it was really funny. And then she's like, well, I guess we're just going to go do this. And then it led to them. It ended up working out for them. But yeah, I really like those little kind of like subtle references right there for either just like fans of witches or just, either people who grew up loving that story. But yeah, it's one of the things I do love about this show is like the way they balance like that cool serious tone and the funny stuff at the same time.
Yeah, I totally agree. It needs that kind of balance. It totally works because they can have, really creepy moments, or they can have kind of somber moments and stuff like that, as long as they kind of balance it out with
as long as the moment calls for it.
Exactly. They're not making like super light of, obviously Sharon's death, but like it's like we need that little last taste of a goofy, like a chuckle to like send us into the credits.
Also, your reminder at the end of the day that Agatha's not the best person too. Like she probably was willing to sacrifice her in this journey. That's why she probably brought her in the first place. I'm assuming. So yeah, it's there's like those deep undertones of like that kind of character stuff there too. But yeah, it's fun to watch.
Yeah, and kind of going back to another thing you were talking about, all of these characters, all of these actors, to their credit, are very well done. Like they can all stand alone and have cool moments, like type of thing to shine and stuff like that. Like obviously, we know the series is about Agatha, so like she is kind of the central focused character. But all of these other characters in this are giving really good performances too, and like have moments that work and shine basically. So it's really cool to be able to do that. It's not just like with WandaVision, like I loved the WandaVision series, but like that was Wanda focused. Like, I mean, you had other characters and obviously Agatha was a standout side character in that series, but you didn't really have these kind of in-depth, more character type of thing. And this is kind of more focused on this core group instead of being centralized, focused to Agatha, which is cool because
it's more self-contained.
Right. And you kind of need that too, because then Agatha can be goofy and can be outlandish and it stands out to the other characters type of thing. It doesn't just go, oh, well, I can't really take Agatha seriously ever type of thing. It's like, you know what I mean? Like she can kind of bounce around as needed. Like she had a really creepy moment with the cradle and the baby crying and the Darkhold being in the cradle instead of a child type of thing. Like that was a creepy moment. And that was, horror / suspense / everything. It was not like an outlandish Agatha moment. It was a very creepy, dark moment that she was able to have. But I think the reason that, it impacted so well was because we saw the other, characters in the
going through their past. Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
The psychological basically hurdle they all had to go through. Right. That was very interesting and creepy for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. You want to get to some predictions?
Yeah, let's do it.
Awesome. All right. Why don't you kick off predictions?
Okay. Yeah. One of the things I did like about like that little, the psychological kind of like flashbacks that they all went through is that a few of them, they all drank at the same time. But then of course, Agatha didn't drink and then they called her out on it and then she drank later on. So then they had their moment where they all kind of freaked out, but then a little time passes by and then Agatha has her moment. So they even like spaced it out so that like, someone's in the present, someone's still here with us. Wow, she's going through her own shit. So I think that's really cool. And then she comes back and then she's like on the other side of the room or something like that. And like, you're gonna come do this with us? Like, no one even like realized that she was like going through something right there. Like, you all just went through it. I thought that was really funny. But going back to first of all, like when they're kind of talking to Teen and they kind of bring up the whole Mephisto thing and stuff that I think they were talking about Agatha in her past, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Well,
Or
yeah, they were just mentioning it. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, I forgot the context in what they mentioned his name, but yeah, first of all, that's like our first real drop of his name. I think, like even when he was his name was being thrown around in theories for WandaVision, we never heard the name. I think Mephisto thrown
Right.
around by Agatha at all when she finally revealed herself. So yeah, that along with getting to see her hallucination when she does kind of open up the cradle and she sees the dark hold, like obviously it's kind of putting the two and two together that she did, like you said, she did probably exchange her child Nicholas Scratch for probably the Darkhold itself, and that's probably what ended up catapulting some of these events into WandaVision as well. And yeah, I think it's very possible that maybe the teen could. I think the teen personally is Nicholas Scratch, still possibly being an agent for Mephisto, and I think that's going to be some kind of big reveal they're saving early on. That's possibly why he has the sigil over his mouth, because it's something that Mephisto did, so that no one else can figure out who he is. I think that was another interesting thing that we learned is that it's not just something that's Agatha can't hear.
Right.
No, like all the witches can't like hear his name either. It's like, oh,
Right.
okay, because Patty LaPone character is the one who's like, oh, he's got a sigil, and okay, we
Yep.
gotta figure this out. Yeah, so I thought that was very interesting. So like, yeah, like there's not something that's just being hidden from Agatha; it's being hidden from everyone. So I wonder what the whole emphasis on that is. And another thing is, I'm just waiting to see a little bit more about Rhea of it all. I think that's because we didn't get anything with her in this episode. So I think that the next step forward is just I think Imagine is finding out what her role in Agatha's past is. I wonder if she was maybe there when Agatha sacrificed her child, or maybe maybe they had their own look. They kind of hint at a romantic past there, so maybe there was something that where they were going to raise a child together or something like that, and then Agatha sacrificed the child. Maybe that's where they kind of like separated. So that could be a big reveal. That could be something we could see later on.
Yeah. I mean, we got to
Yeah.
keep track of some of these theories / predictions because, any number of these could be partially correct or fully correct type
Yeah.
of thing. So,
And I like we don't have to worry about it, like it's how this is going to play into the doomsday stuff, or all that, because this is like the great thing about Marvel is that you can have these little pockets of the world where shit's going down, and they got to take care of it. And so like this kind of like paranormal, dealing with like the devil and stuff like that is like
Yep.
definitely something that can just stay on its own little side pocket here. We can like deal with it, and it's just something you can have fun with these kind of characters.
Well, the other thing is we know this is happening, in real time in, the I guess 616 like main
Yeah.
MCU universe. Like we know this is all happening there still
Yeah.
type of thing. Which is crazy. So yeah, I mean, we don't have to worry about what all of this is, going to impact anything, but like maybe by the end of the series we have some characters we didn't know before and they could potentially at some point interact with something else bigger moving forward in the MCU. So,
And you did mention like the possibility of when Wanda and Mephisto could have interacted at some point. I don't know if it would have happened anytime during WandaVision. I think the only time in my head that I think that maybe Wanda might interact with Mephisto would be after the events of Multiverse of Madness, when the Wonder Gore place comes down and like we see that big burst of red light. We don't know where she goes from there. We don't know what happened, but there could be something going on where she might be, canoodling with Mephisto over here, and something could happen, and it's kind of plotting like her big comeback possibly. So, yeah, I think there's still a play where this whole storyline could all collide in one big thing here.
yeah, I mean, what's really cool is the sky's the limit on that. We do not know anything about, Wanda post that end scene from Multiverse of Madness. But yeah, I mean, anything's possible. I mean, the craziest thing is, we have the multiverse. So we know there are more Wandas out there.
Yeah. You also have Chthon, the creator of the Darkhold too, is another character we could look out for. Yeah, there's a lot of possibilities here.
Yeah, I mean, as far as predictions for like moving forward in this particular series and stuff, I just have to go back again. I really enjoyed the creepiness of this episode, and one thing that I really did want to note that I really enjoyed is we only got the first trial.
Exactly.
The first trial in this episode. They didn't just like, blaze through like 3 of them and then all of a sudden this was like a big one type of thing. this could have been the easiest one for all we know. Like
it was in their test of like, because like the teen says, like, we gotta do witchcraft essentially, right? So like this was like their alchemy test. They had a poison, they had to figure out a way to create an antidote for the poison. So now it's like, what's the next stage of witchcraft that they're gonna test them on next? So yeah, that's gonna be very interesting to see what phases we're gonna see here.
Right. I just really appreciate that we kind of took some like time on this episode for this. So it wasn't just like this rushed like 5-minute scene in a 30-minute episode. It's like it took the whole episode and we really like it really demonstrated and kind of put the message across how difficult this is really going to be overall type of thing. And we got a casualty.
Yeah.
Already.
Yeah. Stowaway died already.
Yeah, already. Like, so I mean, it's just a lot, and I really appreciate kind of how they're kind of letting it unfold a little bit slower, but like slower in a good way type of thing, where we can take this time to, because I mean, like I said, not only does it demonstrate the difficulty of the trials in the first place, but we get to learn, more information about the characters. We get to learn more information / mystery of Teen's identity. Like we're getting all of these cool breadcrumbs of information that I'm sure are going to connect to something else later on in the series. So it's really cool that they're able to kind of have this time to do that, all of that at the same time.
Yeah, and we're showing that this coven really kind of needs each other at the end of the day. They had to use they had to work together in order to solve this problem. They had to use each other to kind of kick each other into gear too. I think that was kind of great too. So I think watching this kind of like bond form between the very different women is going to be very, very fun to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm here for all of it. It's getting us perfectly set for spooky season. In fact, the next episode, we're officially in October. We're officially in spooky season for episode 4. So
we're off and running.
I know, exactly. As we always say, that's what we think. Let us know in the comments below. What did you think of episode 3? And I mean, the biggest thing I'd like to see is R.I.P. Mrs. Hart / Sharon in the comments below. And as always, don't forget, like, subscribe, and turn on notifications to hear about all of our latest audio and video podcast releases. Bye, everybody!
Poppin' Off presents That Recap Show.